A year ago, something special hit the market, the ROG Ally. Out of all handhelds that are available in the market, the ROG Ally is the one that got the spotlight that got everyone hyped. It's said to be a game changer, letting you play all of your favorite PC titles on the go. But after a full year of putting it through its paces, is the hype real? So buckle up as we revisit the ROG Ally 1 year later. Is the PC handheld gaming device here to stay, or is it not? We'll cover everything from the usual performance, battery life, and more peculiar features and issues that I've discovered throughout my journey. So let's begin. Now, the ROG Ally, its design is still amazing and it looks great even today. It's comfortable to hold and it has a good grip. I'm still not a fan of the white color since it gets dirty quick. I also have some scratches here, but I'm not particularly worried about it. I do have a silicone case for the ROG Ally, but I really don't like that case. It makes the buttons very difficult to press and the joysticks are also... they just don't work well with the case. That is why I cut this very accurate circular shape on the silicone case. Also, the silicone case will make the ROG Ally too big to fit onto the included stand, so I just ended up not using that silicone case, despite the ROG Ally getting scratched so easily. By the way, if you're wondering why there's an orange thing on the joystick, well, those are silicone rings. I had to add it onto the joysticks because I realized that the joystick was getting sanded off by the RGB diffuser around the joystick. I have proof for what I'm saying. Just have a look at this picture here. That cut is really deep and it can actually make the joystick feel so weird, and yeah, the only way that I can fix it is to either buy another joystick cap or just get this silicone ring. And when we are talking about that, I have to admit that I never turn on the RGB lights around the joysticks. I just don't like it and I don't know why it exists, and I just want a better battery life. Another thing that I never use on the ROG Ally is the XG mobile connector. When I got my 3D printer recently, the first thing that I printed is actually a cover for the XG mobile connector. It fits so well right now that I can't even take out the connector. We have already talked about the XG mobile a few years ago, so you can watch that video at the top right corner there to know more. One more thing that I don't use on the ROG Ally is the back buttons here, the M1 and M2. I mean, I do use them sometimes to take screenshots, but how Windows operates is just not that good. It needs about like a few seconds before it actually takes the screenshot, and I think they really need to improve on this. Other than that, I don't actually remap the M1 and M2 keys to be other buttons, so there's that. The screen on the ROG Ally is one of the main highlights that I really appreciate after using it for a year. I brought the ROG Ally with me sometimes when I'm visiting my sister's place. To avoid all of the noise and commotion, I will usually just take all of my stuff and go down to the common area and whip out the Ally. Even though it is a shaded outdoor area, it is still very bright. And thanks to this ROG Ally's screen maximum brightness of 500 nits, I can clearly see what is going on. I also have a piece of tempered glass screen protector, which I think is an essential piece of accessory for the ROG Ally, but I do have to point out that the ROG Ally can get so hot to the point that this touchscreen will be too damn hot for my fingers to be touching it. So yeah, that is something that I realized as well. Now, playing games outdoors might seem like a great idea, and it is, because the games perform magnificently, but the battery life is so bad. This game that I'm playing right here is Ender Lily's Quietest of the Nights, and the battery life is completely drained within an hour. Yeah, that 41-hour battery in the ROG Ally is just not that good. I'll just leave it connected to the charger most of the times or bring alongside my super big power bank. Gamers Nexus also mentioned something about the ROG Ally's battery health being particularly poor. Then I got my unit and I checked it, and I realized that the battery has deteriorated for more than 10% in less than a year. That's worrying, to be honest. A few more things to mention about the ROG Ally. I actually erased everything in the SSD and installed Tiny 11. In our other video, we did state that Tiny 11 doesn't actually yield any extra performance or battery life compared to the original Windows 11, but I just don't like bloatware, so Tiny 11 is my choice of distro. Should I even call it that? Also, Windows 11 is just not made for handhelds like this. Navigating any sort of website to download something or just to navigate around game launchers other than Steam is a pain in the ass. The Armoury Crate interface right now, it works, but it is still rather buggy, and sometimes it launches when Windows 11 is booted up, but not always. There is a new Armoury Crate interface coming soon, so we might have another video talking about that in the future. Other than that, the ROG Ally works great. The battery life is my biggest concern, but everything else is just a-okay for me. Now, let's talk about the upcoming ROG Ally X. The ROG Ally X is announced in Computex 2024 and it has a lot of upgrades. Slightly tuned grip to make it even more comfortable, a new motherboard layout to accommodate 24 gigs of soldered RAM, an M.2 2280 SSD, and an 80 Wh battery, double of what we have in the current ROG Ally. It will also give us another USB-C port, which is a huge improvement in terms of quality of life, because having just one USB-C right now, it's just insufficient. However, the ROG Ally X will still be using the same chip, the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, and it will still be using the same great IPS LCD screen. I have to say, even today, it's still a rather fantastic device, and the ROG Ally X is more like a mid-gen upgrade rather than a full replacement. I mean, yeah, having more RAM to be allocated to the VRAM is great, but I personally don't need it since the iGPU is already at its limits for the games that I'm using the ROG Ally to play. The price of the ROG Ally X is expected to be slightly higher than the current ROG Ally, and I think many people are just gonna pick up the current ROG Ally over the Ally X. Still, it will kind of depend on how you want to use your device. If you want better battery life, then either just get the Ally X or a super big power bank. Yeah. By the way, does anyone actually use the microSD card on the ROG Ally? I don't, and luckily I didn't, because that cluster of a problem with melting microSD cards just it's just not a very good thing to happen. So yeah, that's my 1-year experience with the ROG Ally. Is it a good device? Will I still recommend it to this day? I would still say yes, but do keep in mind of all of the inherent issues with a Windows-based handheld device. For example, navigating Windows to get anything else done like installing game launchers and whatnot is gonna be a pain. Logging into your game accounts is also gonna be a pain. Yeah, I should mention that. That single USB-C port, that's gonna get addressed on the ROG Ally X, because currently if I plug in a charger, then I cannot plug in a keyboard and mouse. That's unfortunate. And if I want to reformat the device, entering BIOS is gonna be a problem because I plug in the USB port with my USB stick, then I enter BIOS. What happens if it's reformatting halfway and it just runs out of battery, right? Yeah, those are some of the more minor issues that I encountered. Overall, ROG Ally speakers are great as well. It's just the battery that I'm worried about. I still think that the ROG Ally X addresses a lot of the concerns that we have with the current ROG Ally, but with the same performance at a higher price, I'm not sure if that's an enticing enough proposition to the customers. Still, we will potentially check out the ROG Ally X and do some comparison when we eventually do get our hands on it. So do stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Do remember to like and subscribe, and remember to let me know if you have any other concerns or questions down in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.